Welcome to God and Matter. Today's episode features somebody that I truly love and haven't spoken to in so very long. You're going to have an opportunity to listen in while we catch up. God and Matter, as you know, is about what inspires us to be. And Rosalyn Gaines inspired me to be when I was a law student in a new town in an unfamiliar water. She became my career counselor and also my friend. Rosalyn is so prolific in her work with so many things that she's done. I could tell you a lot, but why don't we hear from Rosalyn? Rosalyn, who are you?
Well, good morning to my wonderful host, Arlene, and to all of the viewers, listeners, what have you. It is a marvelous opportunity to kind of share my journey from the creative space and places that I have been in bringing my voice alive and working. I started many years back becoming what is known as a storyteller. And I was always one who had an eye for watching what was going on around me, listening to everybody, and picking up on challenges that people had, histories that were talked about in terms of family legacy, and just kind of struggles that people were going through. At a very early age, I always listened to those things and I stored them in what I call my noodle or my warehouse. And I would pull those things out when I needed it. And those thoughts and observations became poems, short stories, later a book, and then they jumped into the arena of stage plays. So I became a very profound playwright and did that for a long time. And then I thought I'd enter the world of journalism. So I did that for a number of years, and then I jumped into film. So all of it is about having a voice and needing to tell a story. And that is where I am today. I am still involved in all those facets of storytelling, writing, informing the public, and being able to give us something that's uplifting, even though, you know, all of us go through our various challenges. And I think that's what storytelling is, to let you see the ugly that takes place sometimes, but then kind of help you work your way into what can become resolutions for all of us to follow. So that's been my amazing journey. I'm currently working on a web series right now, which I absolutely love. It's about old money versus new money, because, Arlene, you know this thing where people feel that money solves everything,
Yes.
and it doesn't. It doesn't. I think social media, you know, television and all of that makes us think once you get a lot of money that your life will fall into order. And I beg to differ, because I think if you have not found your foundation without lots of money, you're going to really be in a scramble to refine yourself once a lot of money enters your life. And so my new web series kind of plays with that whole concept that people who have a lot of money, many of us who don't, think that they are profoundly happy. We think that they are profoundly grounded. We think that they wake up every morning and the world is theirs. Well, in some respects it might be, but in many respects, these are people who really don't know who to trust.
Yeah.
They don't know if folks are becoming attached to their coattails for who they really are or for the resources they are able to offer. And once you're in that arena where you have more, and I'm not saying for everyone, but I am saying there is a large populace that when you have more, you want more. And so my web series kind of explores all of those issues. It's about 3 family dynasties that are in pursuit of money, power, greed, love, and sustainability. And when you put all of those things together, you kind of have the clashes that you need for good drama. And so this web series is called Black Oaks. And it is about, as I say, those 3 powerful, dynamic African-American families where wealth has either been a long stay in their family or they are newcomers. So there you have it where I am. And also, I guess I should throw in that I am in the process right now of revising one play that I have that I'm going to be taking to off-Broadway. Okay. And yeah, so I'm so excited about that. So that will occur somewhere between the fall of 2021. Right now, you know, what I'm working on. I was successful in launching a play called Love Letters to Black Women, and then Necessary Notes from the Sisters. So I have combined both of those plays together to create the one play that's going to off-Broadway. And that whole message came out of both of those plays from interviewing many men and women between the ages of their mid-20s all the way to the late 70s. And you really had a chance to walk through people's hearts and minds without worrying about, you know, whether someone wasn't going to like what they had to say. I was out to get the truth, and I got it, and I packaged it, and I fed it to my audiences. That's awesome. And they loved it. So that is my journey where I am today. I've probably done over 50 theatrical plays, and I've written one book that will be coming out. It mirrors what I just shared with you about what's going to the off-Broadway production. And my web series, Black Oaks, will come out a little later this summer. So it's been an extraordinary time because I've met some extraordinary people who've brought my vision, my words to light. And I've been able to tell a story that I think is universal. Everyone can relate to.
That's beautiful.
So
let me ask some questions about what you shared. First,
okay.
Black Oaks. Is oaks for trees? Is this the anchor? What's the title about?
It is the anchor. When you think of a tree, you think of roots. Yeah. And as I mentioned before, this is between old money and new money. So roots, generations of wealth and the struggle to hold on to that wealth. And that is where Black Oaks comes from. It's about African-American families and families that have been planted for years and have had to remake themselves to sustain themselves with all of the challenges that go on that we face today. So that is where the whole concept of Black Oak came into existence. I like to think of the tree because the tree has many branches. Having money is only one branch. Another branch certainly would be your family members. You've got siblings that have their own challenges. You've got the elders of the dynasty that have their own visions. And there's always sort of a generational struggle for power there. Then you've got the other branches of people that come into their lives, whether they are true and want to support them or whether they have their own agendas. And then you have the branches that are the kinds of things that are an umbrella to what we deal with every day. And of course, that crosses all the landscape of what's happening economically, politically, socially. So these are the things that kind of surround the struggle and the sustainability of Black folks. So those branches are out there, but we remain strong no matter what we go through. We remain strong, and that's why I chose the tree, and that's why I chose the Black oak tree. It's a very strong tree. It has branches that allow us to tell the story of our people, no matter what age group that they fall in.
That's beautiful. Now, can you tell me something about where it's set? Is it set in Baltimore, or where is it set, or is it a fictitious place anywhere?
It is a universal story, but it's actually in Baltimore, Maryland. And I am in production now. So I'm shooting in 6 counties in the state of Maryland. And one of the things that kind of drives why I chose for it to settle in Baltimore, Maryland, is because Baltimore has gotten a bad rap from the days of the launch of the HBO, The Wire. People kind of look at the whole Baltimore area lumped together as though, you know, it's all crime and all drug ridden and all of this. I opt to tell a different kind of story about Baltimore, Maryland. Now, my film shoots occur in those 6 counties: PG County, Howard County. We are looking at Baltimore County. I'm looking at Harford County. So we're crossing a number of different counties, but our mainline story is in the Baltimore area. And I tell you, we've had unbelievable support. We've had facilities that have said, hey, look, we like crime about Baltimore, so we're going to let you use our facility. We're going to let you come in our homes. We're going to let you be able to find the kind of settings that you need to show that Baltimore is just not about all urban life. It's a mixture of urban life, middle-class life, and a number of people who have had generational wealth. And we need to tell their story as well and kind of let that voice, you know, kind of, you know, get around to everybody so that they know there's a lot here. There's a lot here to see, to hear about, and to participate in.
Thank you. And just for those who might see this other than hearing it, or hearing it even, there's we're doing this through Zoom, and Zoom has a little bit of an overload right now because of what's happening with the coronavirus. So Miss Rosalyn Gaines was so kind enough and determined to get in that she went onto her iPhone. So there's some fluctuation. So we thank you for being so determined, Rosalyn. And for what you're doing. And you're right, Baltimore is getting a bad rap, and I'm glad that you're here to give it a better reputation, because that's only part of the story. And you're right, it was sensationalized by the media. So with what you're doing, a couple questions. How has the coronavirus affected your production? Because you mentioned summer, you're going to release the web series.
Well, just like everyone else, there comes a time when you go on pause. And this happens for many different reasons, but with the coronavirus, we are on pause. One, because in telling the story, we have cast members who are playing characters that are married, characters who enter that zone of forbidden love, characters who have fights with one another, whether it's verbal, physical, what have you. All of those kinds of storytelling factors bring people in close contact. And with the social distancing and us taking that very seriously, we've had to kind of put our production schedule on hold. One is we value safety, and we value being able to have high quality in what we do. And you can't do that when people are worried about this virus that we don't really understand thoroughly. It's a part of everything that you're doing, that you're touching. When you're talking to someone, when you are sneezing or coughing, that can happen at any time. You put people at risk. And so while I would like to be able to move full speed ahead, I am mindful that this coronavirus is real. I am mindful that I need to keep the safety of other people in mind. And I am mindful that there are a number of places that have shut down to us because of the coronavirus that we cannot use as our film shoot locations. So all of those things have brought us to a pause right now until we can find out more about whether it's reached its peak. But it's kind of brought our our energy down a little bit. But one of the things I know is because we have good storylines, we have a phenomenal cast. Once we do have a green light to get back up and moving, our film shoots are going to be even better than what they have been already, because people are anxious to get out and work. They're anxious to see the craft in full mode. And so that's how we've been affected. Right now, we've come to a standstill. And if you look around, so has a lot of Hollywood, a lot of other independent filmmakers. I think we all have safety in mind at this time.
Well, that is the right approach, and I applaud you for doing that, because I know that filming is expensive. I mean, I've done independent filmmaking myself. I'm not sure that you know that about me since law school days.
No, I didn't.
Yeah. I actually won a Panavision New Filmmaker Award for my first screenplay that I ever wrote.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. But I actually shut down that production because we ran into some issues. You know, first-time filmmaker, you think you know it all, and you do what the book says you're supposed to do, but sometimes you can't plan for everything. So I had some surprises, and then when I got back, my dad had his first bout with cancer. So I shut down and I didn't do any of the filmmaking. But one day I will revisit it. I love filmmaking. I've done short films, and I even did like a little webisode that was on Arlington Independent Media, which was kind of a joke spoof on vampires, because I think there's so much obsession with it. But this was a born-again vampire who did not bite people. He led people to God. And it was a very attractive, it was kind of a dark comedy. And he was an attractive vampire who, you know, women would swoon over him because he was a vampire. But he would teach them about his faith. So it was a little bit interesting concept. And I missed the show, but it was a good experience, and it turned me into a photographer as well. So,
wow. Well, see, that's the beauty of filmmaking. You can start on one path and it certainly can move you to another, because everything that you do can spin off into a story. And that is the beauty of, I think, filmmaking and storytelling all together.
I love storytelling. You know, as being a lawyer, people are like, I don't understand. You know, you're writing books, these are paintings that I actually painted. You're painting, you do photography. That seems like really confused. I'm like, no, actually, it's all storytelling. It's just I use either a paintbrush or a sponge, or I use a pen, or I use a camera, or I use my voice. It's all storytelling. I think the office of a storyteller is incredibly important. So I applaud what you're doing. I mean, our society has survived through stories, you know?
Yes.
Very important.
And I applaud you as well. I mean, I'm learning some additional things about you that I did not know.
It's been so many years. I found you on Facebook, you know, so it's a good thing. Yeah, it's definitely a good thing to reconnect. I'm so excited about it, and I'm glad that you're able to share on God and Matter. So, and also, I'm sorry about your production schedule, but I am glad that it gave you time in your schedule to do this.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah. So a couple other questions that I had was, how does your faith shape the stories that you tell?
I am very, very connected in terms of having a personal relationship with God. And I think this is the gift that he birthed inside me. And you are a writer and a storyteller yourself. So you know when you hear, you know, the Lord telling you something needs to be said about something, or you kind of have that urgency going where you can't sleep until you get it told. And so my relationship with God has led me to be able to tell different kinds of stories, not just one specific story, but different kinds of stories. And I've often been approached by my audience members who will say things to me about what I've written, whether I do it in stage form or video, film, or in writing. They will question me about it, and they should. I remember I wrote a play, and I'm thinking about bringing it into feature film one day. It was called Low Down Dirty Blues. And I remember a cast member who questioned me about it. And this particular production was about people struggling in a blues club, and were led down the corridor of, what do I do for fame? How far will I go? And is it justifiable if I've been given a gift to do what I need to do to make my dreams come true, no matter what it is? Because it's about the hustle. It's about the, this hustle to get to the finish line. So that, having said that, you can tell that these characters kind of made all kinds of decisions that may have not been very good for them. And one of the cast members said to me, I don't know if I feel comfortable with what this particular character is doing. And I was very happy to hear her say that, because between an actor and a director, it is the director's job to offer vision and direction, so that an author can have something to work with. And I told her she was struggling over it because of her faith, her religious beliefs. And what I suggested to her as a director is that I wanted her to go back and look at the Bible, and to go through a number of the Old Testament and New Testament books, and kind of tell me what she read and what she saw that was any different from what I had in my play. And it was very interesting, because when we came back and had that discussion again, her perception was very different. Why? Because the Bible itself is full of drama. The Bible itself is full of all types of things that happen in our world every day. Betrayal, people who become very selfish, the struggle to go up against the odds, decision making, left and right, right and left, that split-second decision making that can change the course of your life, and all of this. The Bible offers all of those things. And so when she came back and she had looked at a couple of the books in the Old chapter, the Old Testament, and a couple of books in the New Testament, and she came back and she said, Rosalyn, you were right. It's not too much different from what you put in here. You have a modern twist on it, but in actuality, the people in the Bible were doing way more than what you have in this play, and I said, well, why do you think that is? And because I always love to get in the mind of an actor, because I'm an actor too. So I love to get in the mind of the actor. And she said, well, I think it's in there because the Bible is trying to teach us what not to do. And I said, absolutely. And what do you think stage plays are for sometimes when they have a purpose attached to them? It's to give you a look at the playing field and what your options are. And so you can relate to how you would react in a certain scenario. The Bible does the same thing. The Bible is full of those scenarios where people got themselves in trouble. And it doesn't mean that they were horrible people. Some of them were, but a lot of them weren't. They're basic people just like you and I, but their stories are in there to teach us that even the most faithful can have challenges day by day. And depending on the circumstances that they find themselves in, they will need the Lord's intervention.
I agree. You froze for a moment there, Roz. I don't know if you can hear me, but I'm going to talk a bit about what you said. And that is this: I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think that oftentimes we think of what happens. I know
challenges that are tainted with challenges by the second. And so I hear God's voice, I feel God, and I am led by God by what I write and what I do. And I'm not a person who feels like whatever I bring to screen or stage, that it has to be rosy, because that's not life. And I mean, even with God's prophets and his leading ladies and his leading men, in many of the biblical stories, it wasn't rosy. There were hard choices to make. There was a lot of brutality that surrounded them. And you will find that just because you were good didn't necessarily mean that you were exempt from all of the clutches of bad things in life. And so that's how I'm led. I'm led by God to tell the real story so people can look at what they see on screen and stage and see a mirror and decide for themselves, what is the best choice for me? Now that I see this before me, and if I run into this in life in any shape or form, how am I going to respond? How am I going to react? And if I have been a victim of what I see on stage and screen, how do I pull myself up from the floor? How did they do it? If they can do it, I can do it. And those are the stories that I bring to the stage. And that's how I'm connected with God. As a Christian, I struggled through my life day in and day out, because who knew about the coronavirus pandemic? I mean, I went to the store and I just got a little freaked out because the question came, where is humanity? People were doing things like grabbing toilet paper and tissue without regard for the elderly. I mean, attitudes were flaring up. And so again, I was storing all these things in my my warehouse, because I said, we live in an imperfect world and we have to teach each other day by day that you don't need to stand on the throat of someone to survive or to have what you would call a quality life on whatever platform that means to you, because high quality life means different things for different people. But you have an opportunity as a storyteller, as a Christian, or whatever your faith may be able to tell the real stories of people and to try to lead people down a pathway of humanity, one that will change the world for the better.
You know, that's actually why I write the children's books. I want to create that compassionate empathy and start at an early age so that you can see people are teaching their children the way that they should go and train them.
Yes.
A lot of the examples that exist right now are not really supportive for children, you know, no offense to like the rappers and things like that, but I'm not sure that a 5-year-old should know all the words to a rap song. You know,
That's absolutely
or
true.
to do those, I guess you call those ratchet type savage dances on TikTok. I don't think a 5-year-old should be doing that. And
Right.
they're losing their innocence. So
Yeah.
I hope that we can, as writers, as storytellers, encourage people to look at a broader spectrum and do things that are edifying, you know, for,
Hmm.
and sustainable for us as a people. You know, a
Right.
5-year-old who's happy about being savage and ratchet is not going to be a good thing, you know, for
Right.
society. It's just not. It's not. But you were talking, and then we got a little bit interrupted because of, I guess, the Zoom overload and bandwidth issues. But you were making a point about your faith, and I applaud your conviction and what you talk about. The Torah does have a lot of information that is mind blowing. You know, if they talk about blowing the wig back.
That is, and you know, I do want to add one other thing about that I think is important, and that is that I believe in my faith that this gift isn't necessarily ours, the gift of writing and filmmaking and bringing stuff to the stage and all that birthed in us. And I think sometimes we do, you know, a lot of people get it twisted that, you know, you have this amazing gift, but every gift that you have is attached to a purpose, you know, a purpose. And that purpose is to help certainly free the minds of other people, into becoming empowered. Because look at the world that we live in. And that's why I say it's not ours. It's attached to God's purpose, because we have in this imperfect world people who suffer from so many things, low self-esteem, people who've been abused and betrayed and have lost hope. We have people who feel that being ruthless is the way to play the game, as they say, and all of that. And usually all of them find themselves at a very twisted end after playing the game of being ruthless. So we have a responsibility to speak to these, I guess you would call them, these traps that people fall in. And certainly none of us are exempt from it, because it can happen, but you have to have a very strong foundation, and your spiritual foundation certainly will be the anchor that can always pull you up. And, you know, a lot of times you cannot walk through this earth without having some down moments, some floor moments, some ugly moments. And I think we all have had those, but you have to understand that with each new day, there's a new opportunity to be stronger. There's a new opportunity to be wiser. And there's a new opportunity to help someone from not going down a pathway you've already experienced. And so I think, just as you were talking about how you are using children's books to kind of show them there are different ways in life that you can explore growing up with your adolescence, and not necessarily all of what you see on TV or what you hear, you know, on the radio or any of those things. It's our responsibility to open new doors, flip new pages to the chapter with the power of the pen, the computer, the paintbrush, as you say, the whole creativity. And I don't know if you've seen this, Arlene, but I have in my lifetime. The arts are one of the greatest things, and that's writing and painting and dancing and music and all the whole artistic journey is the one thing that really brings people together.
True.
It really does. And where do you think that comes from? It comes, yes, it's really, it comes from the purpose that God had in the beginning. And that was to help people understand that there's always a greater day when you see his light. So our responsibility is, no matter what we're doing and no matter what stories we're telling or what we're painting or what we're singing or what we're dancing, you show the rough edges in all of that, in whatever way you choose to show it, but then you show the light.
Yes, exactly. That's so true. You know, it's funny. People, like, my first screenplay, it's called The Stalker Within. And people are like, you believe in God and you're writing about stalking. Why aren't you writing about people like going to church and finding God? And like, because that's not really how life just works. You know, sometimes they say, oh, if you find God, life is perfect. Not necessarily. It's a process of perfecting your faith, right?
Right.
Perfecting that relationship and that getting to know God and yourself. And I don't think it's relatable. And I think media is one of the biggest, most important avenues that exist for reaching people and for lifting people up. And so what would you say to somebody who was interested in lifting people up and telling stories?
Well, first of all, I would tell them to, number one, do an inventory list, first of their own experiences, and then kind of match that with what they've been storing up, like I said, from a young age, what they see, what they hear, what they have known to be true over time from all their experiences. So you do your own self-inventory, and then you look at what's going on in the world. And if you feel you have enough information there to build a story from, then I would say move with full force. A lot of times and this happens, I think, to people all the time. We're so caught up in life, we don't necessarily see life. And if that makes sense for folks. For example, I'll give an example. We're going to work 9 to 5. But we're not really, we're going to work 9 to 5. We're caught up in doing what we need to do to make a paycheck. But how are people really functioning between that hour, 9 to 5? What's going on with them? What is their world like? What is their struggles like? What's really happening with people? That's where storytelling comes in. Between that 9 to 5, you're having people looking for love. You're having people wondering where their next meal is coming from. You're having people struggling. Do they recognize my value? You have all of those stories that are there between 9 to 5. And so as a writer, your responsibility also is to watch life.
Yes.
You just get so caught up in life. Yes, that you're not watching life, and watching life helps you tell stories. So for people trying to get into writing, you need to take writing classes, I feel, to make your writing sharp. If you already know how to write, get your stories down, but also then pay very close attention to how you lay out your story. And we live in a world where people have short attention spans. People try to guess endings before the beginning. So as a writer, you've got to really think about, that's why I say look at your own inventory. So if I say I'm writing a love story and I say, well, how did that end for me? What did I go through to see if this was going to be my lifelong story about love? And if it didn't last for me, or if I'm not in it or anything like that, what happened? What could have happened? What did I not do? What did I do? Now I'm going to relate that in the mirror to what other people are doing. And then I can find stories that people can relate to universally. Mm-hmm. And so to a person just wanting to get into writing, read books, watch movies, listen, store stuff in the warehouse, and always remember there are a million ways to tell the same story. There really are. And if you don't think they are, you are not being creative enough. Why do you think that everything you've watched on TV or all of the books you've read, whether they have been classic, urban, or whatever it is, why do you think they have the same thread lines? Because there's a million ways to tell the story. It all begins with the process of creativity. Do inventory, believe in yourself, write every day, every single day, whether you have to go back and edit what you write or make time, get it down on paper, because without it being down on paper, on your computer or whatever, you're not writing, you're just thinking. And most writers who just think never finish the story. You have to write and you have to get back to it. And sometimes you will have rough moments where the thoughts don't come, but then you move on to other things and you go back and you thread it as best you can. And then you have people you trust or people you pay to look at it. Yeah. So that's my advice. In a nutshell, I said a lot, but in a nutshell, one, stand up and believe you are a writer. And if you are a writer, find those stories that need to be told. Make time for yourself to do it, and then get it down and revisit it until you feel good about it, and then have someone be able to give you feedback on it. That's my advisement.
That's great advice. Now, you mentioned that you did 50. Did I hear you say 50 plays?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you want me to speak a little on that?
Please. That's
okay. Yeah, it is. In my writing repertoire, I have written so many plays. They are short plays, and they are long plays. I mean, I've got plays that run, 2 hours and 45 minutes, all the way to plays that may run, about a half hour. So the reason I've done that is because I used to look at all of these theatrical festivals that you can enter your plays in, and some of them had to be short, and some of them had to be long, and I always wanted to participate in them. So I said, I want to have something already ready. And I got into plays because I guess very early in my life, I lost someone that I loved. And
I'm sorry.
Thank you. And I had a lot of grief going on there. And one of my friends said, look, you need to do something with that grief. So come with me. We're going to go and go to a rehearsal. I said, a rehearsal? She said, yes. You need to see what's going on in the world of theater, and you need to use that grief in the world of theater. And so I went with her, and this was at a time when I was just starting out, my first year of college, and my world was never the same after I went there, and I saw these people being characters, and I was like, man, what a way to escape. And that's how I got into theater, was learning how to escape. I began, acting in these classical pieces. I mean, I found James Baldwin and never looked back. And so from that, I began to write short plays and extended plays that captured all of the things you and I have been talking about this morning. And over time, when I looked up one day, over the years, I had amassed about 50 productions that I have written about all types of storylines. And some of them I have not brought to the stage. Some of them I still have in my repertoire, but I've actually brought probably maybe almost 30 of them to the stage. A couple of other ones that I still have kind of hanging around that I haven't done anything with. And I've directed probably about 30 productions or more, 30 of my own. And then I've directed productions of other people's as well. So it's been across Houston, Texas, Missouri, New York, and Baltimore. That's where you get the 50 from.
So where can people see your work? Do you have video, like films of them that you can screen them, people can download them or purchase them for?
Well, I haven't gotten into that arena for people to be able to purchase my production, but it is certainly something, given the success of Tyler Perry and all his works and everything, it is certainly a new arena that I can look into. I mostly put my productions on, and people can come and see them under the Kuumba Ensemble. And that was the name of my repertory company, was taken from the celebration of Kwanzaa. Kuumba means creative. So usually I put those things out on social media when I'm doing a production. I've kind of been on break right now because I've been doing my web series production. And if people are interested in seeing that, just to get a taste and look at what we're doing, they can go on www.blackoakswebseries.com, and they can take a look at that. My Kuumba Ensemble website right now is under construction because we're getting ready to plan what our new season and all will look like, because we are working on, as I say, a campaign to get us ready for off-Broadway. But all they need to do is plug in my name, Rosalyn Gaines, under Google, and it will take you straight to all of my work.
And that's Rosalyn, Rosalyn, correct?
Right. Gaines, Gaines.
Let's listen to an excerpt from Rosalyn Gaines' work, A Moment in the Movement.
Stood standing, strong and ready for the ferocious winds of Jim Crow laws, sheer terrorism, and the massacre of constitutional availability. She was one of the sheroes who laid the foundation for the civil rights era. 968 miles from here, a woman from Lula, Mississippi, named Unita Blackwell, stepped up to the front line to wage a fight by yard. And when it had burned down to a crisp, they put up a new one. Then they would put on their hoods for evenings of intimidation. You see, back then they wanted to wear you down to feet. I had to stay on guard night and day, day and night.
A Moment in the Movement by Rosalyn Gaines. I loved that. Had a lot of power and strength, which reflects who Rosalyn Gaines is. Google her. As we were closing the conversation, Rosalyn wanted to make a point about women standing up for each other. Whether you're seasoned or a new writer, stand up. Take it to the next level. Our power is in our storytelling. Let's get back to the conversation.
Done a little bit of this and that to continue the journey. We need to hear female voices across the country doing incredible things, because I think what we can anticipate in the future, if we do that, are stories that resonate with power, with the ability to survive women, about the world of possibilitopia. And I say that's a word that is made up, but it is a word that if you ever really walk under that umbrella of possibilitopia, you know you can do anything that you want to do in your own special way. And we need younger women and veteran women at that table ready to say, nobody can stop me. Who's going to check me? I'm going to do what I know the Lord has granted me.
That's beautiful.
Power to.
That's beautiful.
Yes.
It was breaking up a little bit, so I just want to recap it to make sure people heard what you said, because it was powerful. You said that women need to step up, and veterans and new voices need to step up. Veterans helping, but also continuing, and then new people also coming into the fold. You also said that it's important for there to be education and training opportunities for young and old women to be able, and when I say old, not necessarily old in age, but old in terms of experience, to move forward and to raise mistakes, because they do have that gift and that talent and that power that needs to come forth.
Yes, you summed it up very, very well.
Thank you. And then you spoke a new word, which I love, possibilitopia.
Yes. Yes, and that's what we need to teach young people. That's what we need to teach the young girls and the young boys, that your job today is to walk on the pathway of possibilitopia. And that means no matter how many no's you hear, no matter what naysayers are on the sidelines, you walk that pathway of possibilitopia as if it's the yellow brick road. You know, you walk it and you understand that at the end of it, or somewhere in the middle of it, you're going to find all those mentors and people pushing and urging you along, and you're going to write the greatest story of your life, you know, from the onset to the middle to the end. Keep pushing and you will write the greatest story of your life.
This was really powerful. Thank you so very much. For the listeners, just to recap, this was with Rosalyn Gaines. It's God and Matter podcast, and we had a fabulous session. Please look up Miss Gaines. She is prolific with 30 that she directed of her own 50 plays, and she's done work for others in Texas, in New York, in Maryland, and did I leave another place out?
Missouri.
So there's a lot of work that's out there. I do hope that you will create videos if you want. I do some video work. I will try to help you.
Wonderful.
Get your plays recorded, that people can have a resource to go to. I thank you for your time. It's so good to reconnect with you, and I hope to connect with you off the podcast, and maybe in the future when blackoakswebseries.com is live, we can talk about it again.
Well, how about having you on set to be able to do some additional interviewing and maybe some videoing and all of that. So that door is open. Okay?
I appreciate it. I'm gonna walk through that door. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Bless you and have a great day. Stay safe, and let's continue to raise the vibration.
Thank you for listening to God and Matter. It was so great to catch up with Rosalyn Gaines. As you can tell, we both learned a lot about each other today. And maybe you learned something about us, and maybe something you learned you might be able to take away. I hope so. Rosalyn reminds me of Tyler Perry. What do you think? I wonder if he knows about her. If he doesn't, he should. Rosalyn said a lot, and most importantly, she put out a good challenge for us to level up. And she's done that. She took pain and she put it into her writing. And not only is that pain transferred in her writing to move her forward, she's using her writing to move others forward. Our next guest is Christopher B. Perman. He encourages others to dream so big. One of his biggest dreamers is his daughter, Raven Simone. I hope you'll tune in, and thank you so much for listening. God and Matter is produced by ArlieSpeaks Media, LLC. Visit our YouTube channel, ArlieSpeaks Media, or our website, godandmatter.com. Until next time, be well.